Welcome back to Eat Sleep Boxing Repeats YouTube channel. We're here just to discuss the fight that's just broken through. Joshua Buatsi, Craig Richards, May 21st at the O2 in London. Glad to be joined by Lawrence and Greg. We're just going to be reacting to the fight, discussing a couple of talking points, and we'll see where it goes. Thanks for joining me, gents. First thing, just want to discuss with you guys. I think it's great that we're able to kind of make the sort of fights, the big fights between two Brits who perhaps didn't need to fight each other in their quest for a world title shot. First thing I wanted to ask is, it's such a great division, it's such a great domestic division. Are these two guys the best two light heavyweights that we have to offer? Tough question, but no, we've got Callum Smith, Anthony Yard, Lyndon Arthur. There's other guys in there as well. But are these two the best? I'll go to Lawrence first.
Well, it's close. I mean, those names are mixed around. I'd probably say Richards is below people like, what you expect Buatsi to be, Yard. Obviously, Callum Smith's a little bit different in that he was a world champion and then's come up. But yeah, he's right up there. He's probably not quite the best of the best, but I think you have to, applaud that this fight has been made in the sense that it is two of the best, even if it's not quite the very best. Two of the top five. Like you said, it's those five names. It's these two and the three names you mentioned. So domestically, when two of the top five fight, you can't really complain and go, it's not it's not the top two. I think you just have to applaud it essentially in that they are two very, very good fighters who, like you said, really didn't need to fight each other. Neither of them, I think, actually needed it. Richards as well, even though you might look at him as the kind of lesser fighter of the two, I don't think either needed it.
Great stuff, Dan. Well, yeah, just buzzing that's been made. Greg, what are your thoughts? Are these the top two, or are these just clearly top two out of the top five? How do you see the situation?
Yeah, they're right up there. I think Callum Smith is in a little bit of a league of his own still, and then I've maybe got Buatsi, Richards, and Yard just slightly behind them, but right on his tail, not like a million miles ahead of them. But I think it's a great fight. Really looking forward to it. I think it's a very interesting match of styles, and with Richards giving Bivol the closest run, I think it makes it really exciting times. But they're right up there, but I just rate Callum Smith just a wee bit ahead at number one at the moment.
Yeah, I think I'm interested to see where this kind of leaves Callum Smith now. It's probably a topic for a different video, but was last in the ring in September. I've not really heard any kind of whispers as what when his next fight's going to be, but yeah, not sure what's going on with him at the moment, but we will see. What I'm most interested in talking to you about, you guys, with is who's the favourite in this fight? Now, I think the answer is Joshua Buatsi, but does he deserve to be the favourite if you consider Richards has gone the distance with Bivol, which was for a world title shot? He's won the British title more recently than Buatsi. So I suppose the question is, how much of a favourite should Buatsi be, and does he deserve to be the favourite? I'll go to Greg on this one first.
Yeah, I think he does deserve to be. I don't know about a relatively heavy favourite, but put it this way, although I'm not taking nothing away from Richards, he put up a really good fight against Bivol, but Bivol has changed his style over the years to become more of a boxer. He's not an animal who goes in, throws massive hard shots and tries to take you out. Joshua Buatsi is, and he's knocked nearly everyone out as well, hasn't he? And he's done it in particularly good fashion. Even with guys like Bolotniks, who we thought was going to be a tough night for him, absolutely battered Bolotniks. So yeah, basing it on styles, I think that Bivol is a better name than Joshua Buatsi at the moment. But I think Joshua Buatsi has more raw, explosive power. And I think that Craig Richards hasn't fought that. And that's why I see Buatsi being quite an overwhelming favourite.
Yeah, the overwhelming favourite. Okay, interesting. Interested to see if Lawrence sees it the same way. What are your thoughts, Lawrence?
Essentially, yeah, in the sense that you can look at Richards, and it's great that he's gone 12 with Bivol, but he was pretty well outclassed by Bivol. Some of the scorecards were a bit close, I think, off the top of my head, but I think most people thought it was pretty one-sided. And with the pedigree of Buatsi in terms of the Olympic medal and the kind of hype around his career, even though he's kind of stalled in his career. I think that's probably the most interesting part of this fight, is that Buatsi actually probably should be a much, much bigger star than he is. And the fact that I think around COVID he had almost like a year's break between fights is pretty criminal. but I still understand why he's the favourite in the sense that he's got the big knockout power. Richards have got he's got the Olympic medal. Like, I think he does deserve to be a pretty strong favourite, and it does look like, you know, the way Matchroom has set this fight up, they're not going to make it thinking that Buatsi's going to lose. Essentially, like, you have to think that Buatsi's well game for this, is looking good, is up for a big challenge like this. He does need it, to be fair, like I alluded to. I think Buatsi arguably needs this fight more than Richard, in the sense that people are really questioning right now, and that he's stalled so much in his career. But I still, think a strong favourite is pretty damn fair when you look at the pedigree.
Yeah, I think I want to pick on a point that you said there, Lawrence, about Buatsi's career stalling, which I agree with, by the way. I think if you consider he was in the Olympics 2016, which is coming up to 6 years ago, maybe he's not had as many fights as people would have thought for one reason or another, whether it's been COVID or injury. I think it's very disappointing that Vlasov fight that you were supposed to have last year didn't happen due to Buatsi being injured. But I'll ask Greg, would you agree that Buatsi, you can't deny he's a fantastic talent, but he's not where you expected him to be 5.5 years, 6 years after the Olympic Games in Rio? Is it fair to say that his career has stalled? Would you agree with Lawrence there?
Yes, his career stalled. There's been a few injuries and everything, of course, but he should be much further on than he is. He should be fighting, taking Craig Richards out of this much better calibre opponent. He should be really knocking down the door for a world title. And I can't understand what's happened there with Buatsi, because he's talented enough, but I don't know if he's been caught in the middle of the Sky Sports DAZN thing, jumping between the promotional companies, going from Sky Sports to DAZN. Do you take him to America? Do you leave him in Britain? Do you get him a world title shot and shove him in? I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's the injuries, and I think that they can't make up their mind what they want to do with him, because I think they think he's really good, but they hold really high hopes for him and want him to have the right fight at the right time. And COVID, and I think it's all turned into a bit of a mess, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I've kind of, it's a strange one, like, because I really like Buatsi and really want him to do well, and I think he will do well, but it's always been a bit frustrating that we've had to wait this long for him to face another top 15 light heavyweight, arguably, because in my opinion, Bolotnik's a tough fight, but he's not that kind of caliber of opponent, whereas Richards is, and it's taken Buatsi a while to get to this stage, but here we are. Just got two more questions, gents. Very early stages, not going to ask for prediction quite just yet, but is there a side that you're leaning towards, and how? Bearing in mind Richards, he's lost 2 fights in his career, both by points. It looks like he's got a really good chin, whereas Buatsi looks like he's a vicious fighter. He hits very hard. To be fair, as does Richards. Richards hits extremely hard as well. We saw it in the Shakam Pitters fight a couple of years ago, and in his last fight in October as well. Greg, have you got your mind made up over who you're leaning towards in this fight, or are you undecided?
No, my mind's completely made up. I think that Craig Richards will give him some problems, but I see Buatsi stopping him.
Buatsi to stop Craig Richards. And do you think straightforward victory for Buatsi? Do you think?
No.
Or do you think it could have some moments?
Yeah, I think that Craig Richards will make it tricky. I think the inactivity that Lawrence quoted on will come into play as well. I don't think it'll all be plain sailing. I don't think he'll have his own way. I can see it getting to maybe the middle stages. Craig Richards changes his tactics, thinks he has to go for Buatsi a bit more to put him in the back foot. See him walking on to one second half of the fight and getting stopped. Not badly. I don't think it'll be one-sided. I just think that I don't see any way in which Craig Richards can win the fight, because Buatsi can box. He's got a really great jab, and Craig Richards is a good fighter, and I feel like I'm discrediting him when I'm not, but they're just levels in the game. And I see him being competitive but losing the majority of the first half of the fight, changing his tactics and starting to fight Buatsi, and then getting stopped in the second half of the fight, maybe around about 7-10.
Fair enough. And Lawrence, do you agree with Greg, or do you give Richards more of a chance? What are your thoughts?
In the broadest sense, yes, I agree. I think it'd be a Buatsi stoppage. Obviously, Buatsi's absolutely got the power to stop him. The one thing I think, though, It depends how Buatsi takes the fight, actually, because he can box, but I think he might get tempted into a little bit of scrapping by Richards. I think Richards might be clever enough to tempt him into that. And Richards can punch as well. Like, that's easy to forget. You look at his record; he's got a lot of knockouts on there. You know, he doesn't go to the scorecards too often. So I could see Buatsi actually getting rocked, maybe around like round 6 to 7. Maybe the fight's getting on and he's winning a bit, gets a little bit confident. And maybe not get dropped, but like he'll get hit by something where you think, oh, and then he hangs on, he starts to hug a bit, maybe has 30 seconds to a minute, really rocky, something like that. But I think, yeah, I'll go probably a little bit later than 7 to 10. I imagine like 9 to 12. Buatsi will get the stoppage, in the sense that I do think he is a better fighter. But his defense isn't bad, but sometimes I think he almost neglects it a little bit. And I think I could just see Craig Richards just catching him with something big. And it could just be, well, very fun to see, basically, a really fun fight to watch. But yeah, Buatsi's a better fighter. He should definitely stop him.
Fantastic. All right, enjoyed those, gents. Looking forward to it. Got one more question. You might not be expecting to hear, or you might be. Dimitri Bivol defends his title against Canelo Alvarez around the same date, I believe. Both fights are in May. Obviously, Canelo's the favourite in that fight, but we'll see what happens. It's maybe not a foregone conclusion. Who knows? But do you think the winner of this fight could fight Canelo? This fight's an eliminator for that WBA title. Obviously, Canelo versus anyone's a big fight, but to fight another Brit would be a big fight. He's fought Brits before. So I'll go to Lawrence first. Do you think that if Canelo can beat Bivol, do you think that Canelo defending his title against the winner of this fight is a big possibility for later in the year? Or do you think it's just more likely Canelo's going to fight somewhere else, i.e. a Golovkin, a Charlo, somebody else? What do you think could happen?
I don't think it's a big possibility, basically, to be blunt with it, in the sense that I'm pretty sure it will be Canelo will beat Bivol and face Golovkin, because that seems to be the thing that they're setting up. That seems to be the path Matchroom and DAZN want to go. That seems to be what's agreed according to the media. And I think it makes a lot more sense as a much bigger money fight, the trilogy. And then after that, I imagine he will fight Beterbiev, who will, I'm assuming, he'll beat Joe Smith Jr. I think that fight's essentially made for the other 3 light heavyweight belts. Obviously, it makes massive sense for Canelo to go for that undisputed light heavyweight as well. I'm sure that fight would get made. That's a great fight. But then beyond that, God, I mean, maybe that's when the winner of this could get the fight, but that's going to be 12, 18 months away at least. So to be blunt with it, not soon, not this year, definitely not this year. No chance, basically.
No, we'll have to see what happens if maybe Canelo vacates that belt straight away, or if there's a regular belt to fight for. Maybe there's one of the other champions. Who knows? Greg, do you share Lawrence's opinion? Can you not see Canelo against Josh Buatsi or Craig Richards later this year?
Nah, Canelo kind of calls boxing, doesn't he? Kind of runs it. If he decides he wants to fight somebody for a title at light heavy, it will happen. There's too much money. If he decides he wants to fight somebody at heavyweight, it will happen. There's too much money. He's the number one in the sport. He's the biggest cash cow. Canelo just basically does what he wants, doesn't he? But what I will say to answer your question is, I think quite a likely fight after this might be the winner versus Callum Smith. I think that seems to be something that could happen. Obviously, Callum Smith's looking for a world title, but if this is, did you say that this is a final eliminator?
I'm not sure if it's an eliminator or a final eliminator. I wouldn't mind betting it was a final eliminator, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think Callum Smith's in a much better position at light heavyweight to fight for a title. So if there's an opportunity there that he could fight the winner in a final eliminator, if it's not already, I see him taking that.
Yeah, fight could be made. All right, gents, I think that's enough for today. But thank you for your time. We're really looking forward to it. Josh Buatsi, Craig Richards, May 21st. Yeah, not too long to go now. But thanks for giving me both of your thoughts this afternoon. Really looking forward to it.
Thanks for having us, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.